Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Mermaid vs Ghostgear, in which I try out my brand new net cutter, which I'm really excited about. Unfortunately, at this point, it stopped working only because this rope was lined with filaments of wire and I had to separate it out strand by strand. However, after getting that done, I was able to then use it to segment out a piece for localised recycling. It worked really well for this because it seals both sides. It means that there's no microplastic filament shedding, which can happen with UV degraded rope like this. So I've measured out the first section. Please don't laugh at me. My scales only go up to 50 kilos. I completely overestimated my strength, and usually I use a bar to lift it with, so that would have made it easier, but I had to do everything on hard mode. So here we go. That is me loading it onto the sled. This sled was also made of recycled marine plastics. My parents found a blue barrel on the beach, cut it, unrolled it, added batons, added rope that we found while beach cleaning, and it comes with us on all of our adventures. You can see how much easier it is for me to take this across the beach. Obviously this is speeded up drastically, but it does make it so much easier to drag things, and it means that they're not getting caught and getting extra sand in them or potentially degrading on the surface. Dad helped me up with the quad. He was able to winch that up to the road for us to take in the trailer, and that piece was away for recycling on a croft. I then came back, I sectioned out another couple of pieces, and I realised that it was a lot easier to section off the pieces with the metal, go down the edge of them and not go across them. So yeah, if you're watching this as a bit of a tutorial on beach cleaning, now you know. At this point I have to mention that bare feet are absolutely not safe protocol and that I was not affiliated in any way with any of the charities whose clothing I was wearing throughout these videos. Like all of my beach cleans, this was entirely voluntary. It was at my own risk. I just wanted to show a fraction of the effort that families and communities all over Scotland put into dog. That was the most exciting part of my day. Oh my god, the dog. So yeah, I wanted to put a bit of just a bit of video out there that will show people kind of what goes into beach cleaning, how much we do. That is, I got completely distracted by the dog. Oh my god. Yeah, I just want to dispel this myth that Scottish beaches are pristine and magically devoid of litter. They're not. It's not magic. It is a tremendous community effort that is usually not even communicated by people on social media. Largely, people who do this do not talk about it and don't want acknowledged. At this point, my life was absolutely saved by someone with a digger who did not want to be named and doesn't want acknowledgement. And much like the rest of us, is just doing this for the animals. So yeah, this is obviously me continuing to film. I got a little bit distracted at this point by another common plastic, which would otherwise have broken up into hundreds of tiny pieces and posed a threat to fish and seabirds for both entanglement and ingestion. Obviously the film is speeded up, so each second of this time lapse is around a minute. The video was made over 3 days in total. Just to give a brief snapshot of some of the unpaid labour that communities do to prevent these marine plastics polluting our coastline. We came back on a different day. Obviously you can see the weather has changed. It was very windy, but we persevered. Massive shout out to my parents, by the way. They do this all the time. They don't even take pictures or tell anyone about it. I'm unusual in that respect, in that I do try and communicate the huge amount of time and energy that goes into beach cleaning, but I am in a minority in that. Most people don't talk about it and don't want credit for it. I just feel that in order to get systemic change, we have to present evidence to the government and to industry about the burden on local communities of bearing the cost of all of these issues and these cleanups. So this was obviously unpaid and we were paying in tools and fuel. The rope cutter was a little bit expensive. I think it's very much worth it because a lot of this is going off for recycling, so it's pre-sealed before I send it to anyone in the post. But yeah, so at this point I think we go back to using knives. Very experienced beach cleaners will be familiar with these 5-pound Victorinox tomato knives. They're much faster than the rope cutter. They don't run out of battery. They work really cleanly on good quality net like these pieces. However, it is more tiring. It doesn't seal the edges, and I think there is a place for both. Obviously the net cutter saved me a little bit. My hands were pretty sore after doing this for 3 days straight. So yeah, the last part here is much heavier. We are sectioning that off in much smaller pieces because it was full of sand. These are dolly ropes. They're the ones that are used to drag along the sea floor and degrade into filaments. So it was pretty important for us to get those off. Those pieces won't be recycled, but much of the rest of this will. My phone dies round about this point, but I will be back with part 2 because clearly we are not finished.